Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's webinar on dental waterline safety and the upcoming state regulations for Georgia. I'm Michelle Strange, and I'm honored to guide you through this crucial topic. You may have heard that Georgia is on the verge of implementing new waterline testing rules after a series of some Mycobacterium abscessus outbreaks that were affecting a lot of patients. And these changes are about ensuring that the water we use every single day is as safe as possible for our patients and for us. And the big question for many is my state next? And so tonight we'll walk through what's coming, what it means for your practice, and how you can stay ahead of that curve. I know infection control can feel overwhelming at times, but I believe in making safety both achievable and sustainable without the stress of constant second guessing every protocol and product that you use. So let's focus on what really matters, and that's protecting our patients and our teams. For those who do not know me, my name is Michelle Strange. I have been in the dental field for 25 years this year, actually. I'm passionate about infection prevention because I've seen firsthand the impact it has on both patient safety and then the well-being of our teams, ourselves. I'm not just an educator, I'm also a practicing clinician. I know what it's like to juggle the day-to-day hustle of delivering patient care, handling infection control protocols, and managing the unexpected curveballs that come up in a busy practice. I live it. I've lived it for 25 years. I get it. That's why I'm here to share practical and real world strategies that help you stay compliant without sacrificing your sanity and your workflow. So I want to share a little story because this is how I kind of got started in the waterline space for infection control. I didn't do my first waterline testing until like 2019. So, I'm, only 5-6 years into this water safety journey in the 25 years that I have been practicing. And so when I first started doing these water safety tests, I was failing them because our clinic had not done that. I mean, we kind of did the bare minimum with the tablet in the bottle, and that's kind of what we knew that we should be doing. And that's where the story ended for us. So we were not shocking. We definitely were not testing. And so we were failing. And there was this moment where we kept failing. And I looked at the assistant and I was like, oh my God, I think our toilet water at this point is safer than the water that we're using on these dental patients. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go test it. And of course she was like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And I was like, avert your eyes then, because I'm going to test the toilet water. And that is something that I have done in all the practices that I kind of help coach through water safety. And even in the practices that I go to temp as a hygienist or work with them, I start talking about water safety, and I'm like, I bet I could test your toilet water and it would pass without question, and your dental unit water lines might be questionable. And so that's kind of like the journey for me, was realizing that we were flushing our toilets with safer water than we were using on our dental patients. And from that moment on, I have just been a huge advocate for making sure that the water that we are putting in people's mouths is indeed better than what we are flushing our toilets with. And so why has waterline management become such a hot topic in recent years? So after all, many of us have practiced for years without giving water lines much thought beyond basic, just like flushing the lines. Maybe you put the tablets in the bottle like I was doing for so many years. And so why the sudden shift? Well, the answer is simple and alarming. It's because patients got sick. In 2015 and 2016, there were outbreaks of non-tuberculosis mycobacterium infections in children at pediatric dental clinics in Georgia and California. And these children developed serious infections after pulpotomies, all linked to contaminated dental unit water lines. More recently, in 2020, the CDC launched an investigation into another cluster of mycobacterium infections. And in Georgia, we have seen a few. They are other places as well, but we don't always have the details because things are in litigation or they were settled out of court. And so we just don't know all the details, but we do know it is happening. These events are a wake-up call because contaminated water lines can, and honestly do, pose a real risk to patient safety. And this is why we're seeing new regulations like those in Georgia, and why staying on top of waterline protocols is no longer optional. Our patients trust us to protect their health, and this starts with the water that we use every single day. And so let's talk about the role of water lines and how contamination actually happens. So the CDC has raised the alarm about the waterline safety, but the key point that often gets overlooked, it's not about the water, it's about the water lines. You could start with distilled water that meets safety standards or even sterile water, but once that water travels through those narrow plastic tubings of your dental unit, it becomes a very different story. The environment inside those lines is ideal for biofilm to form, and bacteria just thrive in these conditions. They multiply rapidly. In some cases, it's been noted that they can double every 4 to 20 minutes if left untreated. And so over time, this biofilm becomes a breeding ground for harmful pathogens like Mycobacterium and even Legionella. We do have a case of that in dentistry in Europe. And this is why dental waterline management is so critical. It's not just about starting with clean water. It's about keeping the water clean as it moves through your system. And by maintaining effective protocols, you can prevent this hidden risk and protect your team, your patients, yourself from serious infections. So we already know about how infection happens, and this slide kind of breaks it down into the chain of infection. This is something I love to speak on, just kind of bringing us back to school and maybe even microbiology for some of us, because there are 6 links here that need to align for an infection to spread. If we can break even one of these links, we can reduce or potentially stop that harm. Let's focus on one link in particular, and that's the reservoir. So in the dental setting, our water lines act as a reservoir, allowing bacteria to thrive. And this is why proper water line maintenance is critical. But the link that always is on my mind, especially on those tough days when I'm running behind, the computer's glitching, someone called out sick, someone's kids are sick, and my brain is screaming to cut corners. For me, I'm always thinking about the susceptible host. For me, it's those sweet little kiddos who became gravely ill from contaminated water lines. We need to pay attention and take action because our patients rely on us to protect them. And maintaining water lines isn't just a task that we check off, it's a safeguard for those who trust us with their health and their care. Now that we understand kind of the importance of breaking the chain of infection, let's take a closer look at what and how Georgia's new guidance is designed to help you do just that. So following another Mycobacterium abscessus outbreak in the state, the Georgia Board of Dentistry has introduced this rule 150-8-0.05, focusing on dental unit water quality. This rule will require quarterly testing of water lines with proper documentation to ensure compliance, because if you didn't document it, you didn't do it. And most importantly, we're focusing on patient safety. So why does this matter? So the Georgia State Board is emphasizing the regular waterline testing as a critical step, not just for remediation when something goes wrong, but to prevent biofilm buildup in the first place. Biofilm is the primary source of hazardous bacteria, and by maintaining water lines through proactive testing and care, we reduce the risk of failed waterline tests. And more importantly, we are protecting our patients from harm. You're going to hear me say that over and over again. So for Georgia, these rules move to highlight how essential waterline safety has become. And it may just be the beginning for some of us. We all need to be kind of prepared to adopt these similar best practices across the country. It is in Georgia, but it could be for us next. And because Georgia isn't the first state to introduce water safety protocols, Washington State already has well-established guidance. And given the severity of recent outbreaks and the legal cases, it's only a matter of time before some other states just follow suit. Again, Georgia's proposed rule zeroes in on the three main areas to strengthen waterline safety: quarterly testing and documentation, ensure that, like we're trying to ensure that the waterline issues are detected and addressed before they become serious. Like, that sounds right. And we talk to our patients about this all the time, right? Y'all, like, come into the practice, see us on a regular basis. Don't wait until it's a problem. Don't call me on a Friday night when that tooth has been hurting, like, for 2 weeks, right? Like, these are the things that we talk to our patients, and now it's our turn to kind of take that advice. They also talk about standard operating procedures, which is going to help create structure and kind of reliable approach to, or for like teams to follow consistently. They talk about education and training because we want to empower teams with the knowledge needed to prevent and manage our, contamination risk. And even if your state doesn't require this, adopting these practices now is a smart move because you'll be prepared when new rules come. And more importantly, you're going to be reducing the risk in your day-to-day operations when we're talking about using water on our patients safely. So I want to take a closer look at the details of Georgia's new rule, which goes into effect soon. Potentially, it is kind of waiting for approval, but I feel comfortable saying I think this is going to come to fruition. So water quality standard, so it's kind of in that section there. It's talking about dental unit water that must meet the EPA's drinking water standard, which is less and potentially equal to, but hopefully less than 500 colony forming units. And y'all, this is not just a suggestion. They're saying that licensed dentists are legally responsible for ensuring the standard is met. Then they talk about testing requirements. And so water lines must be tested again, at least quarterly. Additionally, if there are any plumbing changes or repairs or, just overall changes to the water lines, and I would say even close to you and like your community, we want to test to make sure that it is going to be within that 500 colony forming units or less than. And we should do this within 30 days to ensure that system remains safe. They also talk about remediation. So if bacteria levels exceed that 500 colony forming units, we want to have immediate corrective action. And this could mean shocking the lines or measures to bring those colony forming units back to acceptable levels. We're going to dive into that a little bit more because you're probably like, I haven't done anything. What am I going to do? We're going to get into that, I promise. And then they're looking at documentation. So maintaining testing log. We're already doing this with, hopefully you're logging your bacteria, your biological spore test for monitoring your autoclaves and sterilization processes. Like, we already have logs for a lot of things in dentistry. And so we need to have a log about testing and if we're passing or failing these water safety tests. And so the log must include the test date, the person conducting the test or the retest if you failed, and records must be kept for at least 5 years. And then they mention education because in 2024, they were starting to require that we complete a minimum of 2 hours of infection control education with a focus on waterline safety as a part of that continuing education because of so many outbreaks. And this rule aims to ensure that these dental practices, all the places that we're working, have a structured approach to managing these water lines so that we're reducing risk, staying accountable, which I think is a big part of this. I do believe it is a solid framework that many states may soon adopt as well. So what does this mean for you? And I want to focus on kind of the standard operating procedures here. So SOPs, standard operating procedures, this portion of the guidance, I think, is a very important part. I know this can feel overwhelming, and believe me, I've never walked into a dental practice where someone actually handed me perfectly written SOPs. They are rarely in place, especially in my experience. And without them, it's easy to get stuck in analysis paralysis. Like, what do you mean I have to do this? How do I do this? But here's the good news. Creating SOPs doesn't have to be a daunting task. I think an easy start to this is choosing the products you're going to use for waterline management. Pull out that little insert, from the boxes, and those are your instructions for use, your IFUs. I'll say that SOP, standard operating procedure. IFU is your instructions for use. You might also hear MIFU, that is manufacturer's instructions for use. They come with those products, and you can use those to build your protocols. So we're going to focus on things like, what is the daily, the weekly, the monthly, the quarterly, the yearly task based on the product's requirements. So some protocols may be simple, like just monthly or quarterly, just depending on your system and the products that you're choosing. And so once you've written those SOPs, test them. Literally hand them to a team member who doesn't have maybe the experience with waterline management, or at least with the products that you're using, and see if they can easily follow those steps. And this is going to ensure that your procedures that are written out are clear, they're practical, because that's also a huge part, and ready for real world use. And then after you write those out, you've tested them, you're going to make them highly accessible, especially if they are new to your practice. So put them in each room, set calendar reminders, and finally appoint someone to take ownership of this process. You need a champion in your practice to lead the charge so that you ensure protocols are followed, those tests are passed, and everything is documented. The CDC likes to call this the infection control coordinator or infection prevention coordinator. Whoever it is in your office, you just need to make sure that they are your champion and that they are going to take this and ensure that it is all done properly and documented properly. And I do also want to acknowledge, because I know what some of you might already be feeling, and that is overwhelmed. And because for many of us, just surviving the day feels like a win. We're short-staffed, we're juggling a million tasks, and waterline management might feel like one of those like mountains to climb. But I'm here to tell you it doesn't have to be that way. Dental waterline maintenance can actually be easy. And so by simply simplifying your office protocols, focusing on key tasks and getting your team involved, you can stay on top of this without adding more stress to your plate. And so I call this kind of like creating the rhythm of in your practice. So I think when you think about our day, like even with the craziness that somebody's calling out sick, the computers aren't working, equipment's malfunctioning, patients are running late, you just want to get a drink of water. Like, we can have the craziness of our days, but there is always this underlying cadence, almost an underlying current to things, our task, our behaviors. Like if spore testing, for instance, happens on Wednesdays, like your body just kind of knows it's Wednesday, I have a task to do. For me, I do waterline shocking on my airflow prophylaxis master unit every Tuesday. I do this weekly for a lot of reasons. We can talk about that if you have one in your practice, but this is Tuesday for me. I don't care how busy and insane and exhausted my brain is, like, it's Tuesday. This is the thing that I do at the end of the day. There is this rhythm in our practice, even on the most insane day. And so this is what we're going to do. We're just adding water management tasks and protocols to the rhythm, the cadence, the current of our team. And so Sterisil and Solmedics, like, they have come up with something called the SAFEWATER Solution that is going to help with that rhythm, that cadence, that current that is in your practice. So if you've never tested or shocked your lines before, maybe you're thinking, oh my, will I ever be able to even meet these new requirements? Or maybe you're getting like that feeling of like, how am I supposed to even fit this into my already packed schedule? And I get it. These concerns are real, but Sterisil has made waterline management a whole lot easier with the SAFEWATER Solution. So it boils down to 3 simple steps. We are testing, we are shocking, we are maintaining. First, there's testing. This is where products like Fast Check 15 will come in. You can kind of test your water regularly and get quick results, which helps you catch any issues before they even turn into a bigger problem. And then we have shocking. So using products like the Citrisil Shock tablet simplifies this process because there's no like liquids or mixing instructions, none of that. You just like drop the tablet to like dissolve and you shock your system. It's very easy. And then there's the maintenance. And so using things like the Sterisil Straw is going to give you that ongoing treatment for up to a year with one of their straws, the one that's for 365. So you don't have to worry about daily bottle changes or any kind of complex upkeep. The best part is that these products are designed to work together seamlessly. They're making it easier for you to stay on top of your compliance without the frustrations, the headaches, like the oops, I forgot to do this. And if you ever feel stuck, Sterisil has water specialists ready to guide you through every single step. It's just really all about keeping things manageable, efficient, and safe so you can focus on what you do best, and that is taking care of your patients. Now, in addition to following that safe water solution rhythm of testing, shocking, maintaining, it's important to incorporate some daily habits into your clinical routine. And one of the easiest, but kind of forgotten about one, I know it's one that I'm always having to like stay on top of, that is flushing the lines. So each morning we aim to flush your water lines for about 2 minutes. And what we're doing is we're trying to clear out any water that has been sitting overnight. And then we're gonna like pull the fresh treated water through. And then in between patients, we flush the lines again for about 15 to 20 seconds. And this practice just helps remove any stagnant water that might accumulate during downtime. That way we ensure that the water entering the patient's mouth is as safe and clean as possible. And it's just these small, consistent behaviors that do play a big role in supporting your overall like safety protocols, because we're just trying to keep that biofilm at bay, reinforcing this effective system. So you want to flush in the mornings, you want to flush in between patients. A lot of times what I do is, because I don't always remember to flush like as I'm doing my operatory cleanup. And so before I use any of my tools, my ultrasonics, any handpieces if you're a dentist, and my air water syringe, I kind of just shoot it into my suction and I'm just running it. Maybe I'm chit-chatting with the patient. Maybe I'm like, hey, how's that tool I gave you last time? Did you like that last mouth? So tell me more about the mouth rinse you're using. Whatever it is, I might just kind of chit-chat with them while I'm running my line. So it doesn't have to be like an extra step. Like you can multitask a little bit here. At least that's what I'm doing often. So testing is truly the foundation of effective waterline management. It's the only way. It is the only way to verify that your water is meeting that EPA drinking water standard of less than 500 colony forming units, CFUs. The guidance doesn't specify exactly which test you should use, but it does emphasize the importance of frequent monitoring. And so the Association for Dental Safety recommends in their white paper to use in-office test kits, and using those more frequently on a more frequent basis may help ensure staff compliance with biofilm mitigation protocols and provide that early warning system, because we want an early warning of problems with biofilm control. So again, if we're doing it more on a frequent basis, we're putting it into that rhythm. It's the first of the month. It's the first Monday of the month. It's the 15th. It is the thing that kind of just sits in our soul a little bit, like there's a task I need to do today. It's a rhythm. And when we do it on a more frequent basis, it's easier to get into that cadence, right? And so with Sterisil, you have 2 solid testing options to fit your different needs. So first, there's the Fast Check 15, which is an in-office test strip that gives you results in 15 minutes. It's ideal for those frequent monitoring that we were talking about here. You get those real-time insights on your water quality. And so this test is really perfect when you want to keep a regular pulse on your waterline status without waiting for external lab results. And then there is the Sterisil R2A mail-in lab test. And this test is processed by the only EPA certified lab test or lab in dentistry, and it provides these verified, very detailed reports to document. And again, this is the important part here, I think, for the R2A. It will document your compliance because it's designed to give you that extra assurance when it comes to formal documentation and trend tracking over time. And when we use a combination of both, you can help create that rhythm. So fast check for regular in-office checks, and then the Sterisil R2A for those quarterly or compliance-driven lab verifications. And this approach just supports that early detection of issues and ensures that problems are caught and resolved quickly, keeping those water lines safe and on track with the compliance that we should all be following. So I want to break down the benefits of the Fast Check 15 waterline test strip. So they're quick, they're efficient. This is an in-office water bacteria test. Again, results in 15 minutes. It can detect bacterial levels if they exceed the EPA standard of 500 colony forming units. There's no need for incubation or neutralizers, which does make the process really simple and streamlined. You can read those results really easily. If you see one line, your water has passed the test. If you see two lines, it's failed, indicating the need for immediate remediation. And it's really designed to just make those water line testing accessible and efficient. It's like, it's very similar to a COVID test, you could get your results in 10 to 15 minutes with COVID tests in office or in home. You get a line, you get two lines, you kind of know. COVID, not COVID, failing, not failing. So like a pregnancy test, pregnant, not pregnant, like very clear results. And it's such a good feeling when you are working hard to stay on top of waterline maintenance and you get that passing test result. It's like all of us went to school, right? Like it's like getting that A on a quiz you've been preparing for. And that's the beauty of the quick testing options like Fast Check 15. You don't have to sit around waiting and wondering if all of your efforts have paid off. Instead, you get those results in 15 minutes. And whether you're testing before the first patient or even after a long day, you have immediate confirmation that your water lines are safe to use. Next up is the 2A test. Again, this is the tried and true gold standard for waterline testing that's been trusted for years. It's EPA approved, so the R2A method is the only test method approved by the EPA, so you know it's legit. This is a standard against which all other tests kind of are measured. And it is processed by the DentaSafe labs, and the DentaSafe labs are the only EPA certified lab in dentistry. It was actually founded by a dentist for dentists, which means they understand our world and what it takes when it comes to our patient safety. It's also a very comprehensive analysis. So it's not just like a pass or fail situation. The R2A gives you a full breakdown of kind of the bacteria and the biofilm growth in your water lines. And then it gives you a detailed report for those colony forming unit results. It's really everything you need to understand, like what's actually happening in your system. That way we can look at trends and take immediate action. And it's very, like I've already mentioned, it's very needed too, because you'll get that third party verification. Or if you are kind of like a little nerd like myself, like where you want to dive deeper into waterline safety, it'll kind of give you that detailed report, which is very nice. I really like seeing offices using the R2A testing, especially for the benefits it offers. Again, I'm going to talk about that third-party testing because I think it's helpful. I think it's useful to prove that you're actually doing the things that you're doing. And again, for trend tracking, it's a great way to kind of build that strong foundation for water management, particularly for if you're new to this. I think this is a great thing to use if you are new in this space. So again, it's going to give you that detailed report. You'll track those trends and you'll just have the confidence knowing that your samples are processed by a lab and you can actually get some remediation. So if things are looking like, well, this is weird that this is happening, what's going on here, you have a lab and customer support that can help you. And again, it's the gold standard in testing. And so I hope I've introduced you to your two new best friends for waterline management, looking at Fast Check 15 and the R2A. By combining these two tests, you get best of both worlds. So you get that instant feedback with the Fast Check 15, you get your reliable gold standard with the R2A. They're there to help you stay on top of your water safety and your protocols that are both easy and affordable, which is also huge because I get it. Like, you're probably like, how much is this going to cost me? These are reliable and affordable. So let's dive into that next crucial step, and that's shocking your water lines. But before you do that, it's important to test first. So you want to see if your regular maintenance routine is actually doing its job. So it's not just to get like clean, like a pass, right? So you'll shock, you're probably going to get a pass. In a lot of situations, you'll get a pass. We're not testing to see if our shock is working. We're testing to see if our maintenance routine is actually working. So testing first helps you truly gauge whether your waterline protocols are keeping your waterline safe and that biofilm under control. And so once you've tested, then it's time to shock if necessary. I think shocking on a monthly basis is really great, but honestly, if you're just doing this and you've kind of gotten a few good test results, you may move to quarterly, but with Fast Check, it's just easy to do that monthly. We know that biofilm is resilient and can still build up even with good maintenance. And this is where the Citrisil Silver Ion Shock tablet comes into play, because it's designed to target anti-erode, kind of like those not slow growers, like those floating bacteria and stuff, while bringing those bacteria counts well below the EPA standard of 500 colony units, so the CFUs. And what's great is that these tablets are safe for your equipment. So they're non-oxidizing, so they won't cause any corrosion. I teach people to take their hand pieces off at all times. Like, we should be running those through. But if for any reason you left the motor on, you left a tool on, it happens, we're humans. But it's not going to cause any issues to your hand pieces or any other tools. It's also pretty simple. So it's like just a tablet. We just put it in there, we let it dissolve. There's no liquids, there's no mixing. Just drop it in, let it dissolve, and then you can start shocking your lines. Also, if you are using the Sterisil Straw that we will talk about, the shock process is even easier, since you can use the Citrisil. Now, it's very important that we're using all of these products together. It is only the Citrisil shocking tablet that can go through the Sterisil Straw, but you don't have to take it off and put a dummy straw on to actually shock your line. So another step that you are skipping. It's very easy. It's also an orange color. And so that's going to give you that visual cue when flushing. So it's going to let you know that you've actually drawn the shock from the bottle, it's gone through the lines and it's come out. So you can see it in your sink, you can see it in your cup, you know that it has actually gone through the lines, and you're not just, pulling old water through. It's actually the shock. And so if you're starting to test and shock, it's recommended to do this monthly until you pass 2 or 3 consecutive tests. And after that, you can potentially shift to quarterly shocking. But I think it's also, again, if we're going to do it on a regular basis and put it into that rhythm, it's just easier to kind of get into the process of doing it monthly. Like I said, I do it weekly for my airflow prophylaxis master, because it does heat the water and I am not putting daily maintenance through it. So that is actually why I'm shocking mine on a more regular basis. Now, Sterisil, like I mentioned, does recommend monthly shocking to prevent that biofilm buildup. And what we're trying to do is keep those microbial counts just well below 500 colony forming units. But here's an important detail. You need an independent water bottle system to be able to shock your lines effectively. If your dental unit is connected directly to city water, there is no way to isolate and shock those lines. Sure, your source water may meet those safety standards because it's coming from, city lines, but once that water travels through the dental unit lines, that's where the biofilm can take hold and can grow. And if your unit doesn't have an independent water bottle, there are these retrofit kits available to make this upgrade. So you can put a water bottle on there. You just need to connect with your distributor or whoever you use for maintenance in your practice. Because having a water bottle system allows you to properly manage, maintain, and shock your lines when needed. And it gives you full control over your water safety. And so we want to incorporate these regular shockings because it isn't just a reactive measure. We don't want to just react. We want to be proactive. Again, it's the same thing we talk to our patients about, right? Like, we're like, don't just come when you're hurting. Like, let's get ahead of this. We see some early demineralization, like whatever it might be that you have this conversation with them, you know it because you're having it with them all the time. It's not about being reactive. It's a proactive step to prevent biofilm buildup before it becomes an issue. And so even if your lines pass a water test, biofilm can still be present at levels that are too low to detect. And so that regular shocking ensures that you're staying ahead of any potential microbial growth and maintaining safe water conditions. Shocking is also a key part of ongoing maintenance, not just something you do after a failed test. Like I said, we're being proactive here. It helps you maintain that consistently low microbial count. And if you don't have, like, you just don't have to worry about your equipment too with the Citrisil Shock because it is that non-oxidizing formula. And because it's designed to be safe for handpieces and other dental tools. Like I mentioned before, if you forget, it happens. I've done it before too, where I forget to take the motor off of one of the lines and I ran the shock through it, but it's okay. Now, we've tested, we've shocked. Now it's time to maintain. And the goal here is to keep your water line safe and clean between those testing and shocking intervals. And that's where the Sterisil straw comes in, or cartridge. You might hear straw, you might hear cartridge. It's designed to provide that constant waterline treatment that suppresses that bacteria and biofilm growth every day. And so it gives you that year-round year-round maintenance. And so once installed, that straw is going to treat your water lines. And it's one of the easiest ways to kind of keep biofilm in check. Yes, there are tablets that are available where you stick it in and you dissolve. I like to remind people, I have pretty significant ADHD. I get very easily distracted, and I have many times forgot to put that tablet in the bottle. I joke, like, I'm like filling the water bottle and then my brain will go, oh, you didn't write up like that they had x-rays. I need to make sure I put that 4 bite wings in this patient's chart. And then like my brain has already moved on to the task that I need to go do. I grab the water bottle, I stick it on, forget to put the tablet in there. So if that is an issue in your practice, the straw is kind of that solution because you don't have to remember to do it. It's already kind of there, giving your water line that maintenance that it needs. It's also going to be a silver ion technology. And so unlike iodine treatments, the silver ion technology is about 20 times more effective because it's delivering that crucial safety margin, kind of keeping bacteria levels as low as possible. And so the silver ions don't just work in the bottle, they kind of remain active in the water lines, which is exactly where that biofilm likes to hide and multiply. And so maintaining your water lines this way helps you stay compliant. You know, you're confident that your team didn't forget a step because we're all humans. Humans err, it happens. And we're just keeping it safe all year long. No scrambling between patients to try to fill that water bottle, get the tablet, all that stuff. You know what it's like. Also, like, I want to be real with you, like, we need easy, right? The idea of constantly like purging bottles, wiping down straws when we take it off, put it back on, leave that, bottle off, leaving things out to dry overnight, it just isn't always sustainable. And when you're already kind of juggling patient care, scheduling, a million other things, that's why I kind of appreciate the straw system because it takes kind of the thought out of it. So once you install it, there is no need for daily removal of that bottle or any of that extra work. It's just quietly kind of there doing its job, releasing treatment every day to keep that bacteria and biofilm in check. And it's like having that system on autopilot, which is so nice. And there's a nice little bonus to the Sterisil straw too, because when you install it for the first time, the straw gives your lines that initial shock. So that means another, like we just took away another step. So no need for the dummy straw or product, like, because if you're switching products, like you should shock between that switching. But if you're going to go ahead and put that straw on there, that shock is going to happen for you. And so at the end of the day, like we're trying to find ways that our little brains are not going to cut those corners. We want to work smarter, stay compliant so that your lines are safe. So now that we've kind of covered each step individually, so we're testing, we're shocking, we're maintaining. Y'all, this is the trifecta that we need to follow. This is our rhythm: testing, shocking, maintaining. And so I kind of want to bring it all together. The goal here is to create that seamless system where waterline management becomes just second nature. It's not a stressor on your already full plate. And again, Sterisil has designed this SAFEWATER solution to take that guesswork out of the process of syncing, of the rhythm, especially when we're talking about syncing up products that complement each other. So again, it's like having that well-oiled machine kind of working behind the scenes, because we have all of these products working together. You have your Fast Check 15 that will give you your monthly updates, acting like your little early warning system. If something's off, you can tackle it right away without waiting for test results from coming back from the lab. And then you have your R2A that will go into deeper analysis. And then you'll get your third-party documentation, which is going to be such a critical part of this new regulation and probably for all states. And the Citrisil Shock tablet is going to be kind of like your reset button. They're designed to help that to eliminate the biofilm. And then you have that straw, which is that low maintenance kind of hero of the system, because once it's installed, it's kind of doing that heavy lifting by keeping that bacteria under control for that entire year. And again, all of these pieces work in sync. So you're not juggling separate protocols. Again, we want to build consistency and the way that fits your practice and keeps you confident in your water lines. No drama, you just get good results. And so the SAFEWATER Solution chart, I love a visual. I love this visual because it kind of gives you that clearly defined rhythm that I've been talking about. You're going to do that Fast Check 15 monthly, quick and simple. You mail in your R2A sample for that deeper third-party analysis. You maintain your water lines with that straw on an annual basis. And you can kind of hear what I'm saying when I talked about the SOPs at the beginning here, coming up with your daily, your weekly, your monthly, your quarterly, your annually. Here we're doing this monthly, quarterly, annually situation here. And if a test fails, like, you don't need to panic. You've got a system in place. We're going to shock the lines. We're going to retest. And if needed, lean on Sterisil's support team to guide you through those next steps. The protocol really is simple: how you keep these things compliant and safe without complicating your day-to-day operations. Again, it's about creating that rhythm. And I also get it sometimes, despite my reassurance and breaking things down step by step, there are still those moments where everything feels overwhelming. I've been there when I was in 2019, failing those tests, like, what in the world? What are we going to do? But here's what I tell people every time I see that, like, deer in the headlights look: you don't have to do this alone. Partnering with a company that has a dedicated support team is really kind of the solution. It's going to be your lifesaver, really. So with Sterisil, you've got access to their Solution Center portal where all your test results and documentation are automatically uploaded. So no scrambling to organize paperwork. You could print it out and put it in a binder if that's how you like to keep it. I like hands-on things. But if you hit a bump in the road, their water safety specialists are just a phone call away. They're ready to walk you through any issues. And again, it's just about building a team around you that makes sure that patient safety is just never compromised, even when you're stretched thin, like a lot of us already are. we're just kind of helping with compliance. And really, when you know someone has your back, that makes things feel a lot better. So as we wrap up, I want to thank you all for joining me today. I know we've covered a lot, from the importance of testing and shocking your lines to maintaining them with consistent protocols like the Sterisil SAFEWATER Solution. I hope I have helped you see that you can keep things manageable, effective, and sustainable for your practice. Remember, this solution was designed to help you. So we're trying to monitor that bacterial growth consistently, maintain safe water levels with these simple practical steps, and minimize the effort and cost it takes to provide safe environment, like the safe environment and safe water for your patients. It is easier, I promise. And you probably might feel like, I don't even know where to start. It is easier. We're here to answer any of your questions that you might have right now. And I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to join me today, and good luck.